The Marines headed for Guadalcanal had heard of the atrocities committed by the Japanese army over the years. In 1938, Life magazine published photographs smuggled out by German businessmen of Japanese atrocities in Nanking. Nanking, the capital of China, had fallen to the Japanese on December 13, 1937. As the Japanese entered the capital, only unarmed civilians remained. The victorious troops plastered the city with billboards featuring a smiling Japanese soldier handing a bowl of rice to an appreciative Chinese child. The poster proclaimed the peaceful intentions of co-prosperity, but instead the Chinese suffered an orgy of torture and death. In less than a month, Japanese troops, with the encouragement of their officers, killed up to 350,000 Chinese civilians. Pregnant women were marched to one killing field where Japanese placed bets on the sex of the fetus about to tumble from its mother's womb, cut by a samurai sword. In another area of town, drunken soldiers laughed and tossed babies in the air to be skewered on the ends of their buddies' bayonets. Dogs grew too fat to walk, feasting on the corpses in the streets. 350,000. That amounted to more civilians dying in one city in 1 month than died in entire countries during the entire war. In 6 years of combat, France lost 108,000 civilians, Belgium lost 101,000 civilians, the Netherlands 242,000. The Japanese in Nanking killed even more than the atomic bombs later would. Hiroshima, 140,000 dead. Nagasaki, 70,000 dead. The Japanese, loot all, kill all, burn all, scorched earth policy in North China would eventually reduce the population from 44 million to 25 million. Co-prosperity indeed. The U.S. Army had encountered the Japanese Army's ways in the Philippines and Burma. Stories of buddies found trussed like pigs, disemboweled, with their severed genitals on their mouths circulated, as did horrifying accounts of boys staked in the hot sun, forced to endure ferocious bugs who savored the honey rubbed in the prisoners' eyes and mouth. However, the Marines at Guadalcanal had not experienced the atrocities firsthand and found them hard to believe, until they mistakenly extended a hand of mercy to the Japanese. On August 11th, Frank Gotch led a patrol to rescue a Japanese unit on an isolated spit of ground on Guadalcanal. Marine intelligence had reported sighting a white flag and a captured Japanese sailor, and the unit was unable to maintain itself and inclined to give up. Mr. Gotch called for volunteers to rescue the Japanese unit. 25, including an interpreter and a Navy surgeon, set forward. Landing on the beach identified by the informant, Mr. Gotch announced he was there to help the trapped Japanese. His offer was met by withering gunfire. After hours of fighting, only one Marine managed to escape and swim away. As you look back at the bloody shore, you could see the glint of Japanese swords hacking his buddies' bodies. A Marine patrol later found the mutilated corpses. They had been violated in the worst possible manner. Chunks of flesh with the Marine Corps symbol tattooed on them had been hacked off arms and stuffed into their mouths. The Marines began to realize they were fighting a war of no rules. What shocked Marine sensibilities the most was the Japanese treatment of their non-combat corpsmen. U.S. Navy medics would respond to calls for help from wounded Japanese who would cry, "Corpsman, Corpsman," in English. When the person came to their aid, they were then either treacherously shot by the wounded soldier or blown up by hand grenades concealed on their bodies. America's war in the Pacific would be a war without quarter, fought with no rules. It would be a primitive battle, a fight to extinction.